Letter 3 of Letters from Egypt by Lady Lucie Duff Gordon. Read for LibriVox.org into the public domain. To Mrs. Austen, Grand Cairo, Tuesday, November 11th, 1862. Dearest Mother, I write to you out of the real Arabian Nights. Well may the Prophet, whose name be exalted, smile when he looks on Cairo. It is a golden existence, all sunshine and poetry, and, I must add, kindness and civility. I came up last Thursday by railway with the American Consul General, a charming person, and had to stay at this horrid Shepherd's Hotel. But I do little but sleep here. Hekekian Bey, a learned old Armenian, takes care of me every day, and the American Vice-Consul is my sacrifice. I went on Sunday to his child's christening, and heard Sakna, the restorer of hearts. She is wonderfully like Rachel, and her singing is Handreisend from expression and passion. Mr. Wilkinson, the consul, is a Levantine, and his wife Armenian, so they had a grand fantasia, people feasted all over the house and in the street. Arab music shemteret, women yelled the zagarit, black servants served sweetmeats, pipes, and coffee, and behaved as if they belonged to the company, and I was strongly under the impression that I was at Nureddin's wedding with the vizier's daughter. Yesterday I went to Heliopolis with Hekekian Bey and his wife, and visited an Armenian country lady close by. My servant Omar turns out to be a jewel. He has déterré an excellent boat for the Nile voyage, and I am to be mistress of a captain, a mate, 8 men and a cabin boy for £25 a month. I went to Boulak, the port of Cairo, and saw various boats, and admired the way in which the English travellers pay for their insolence and caprices. Similar boats cost people with dragomans £50 to £65. But then, I shall lick the fellows, etc., is what I hear all round. The dragoman, I conclude, pockets the difference. The owner of the boat, Sheikh Ahmed el Berberi, asked £30, whereupon I touched my breast, mouth, and eyes, and stated through Omar that I was not, like the other Ingles, made of money, but I would give £20. He then showed another boat at £20, very much worse, and I departed, with fresh civilities, and looked at others, and saw 2 more for £20, but neither was clean, and neither had a little boat for landing. Meanwhile Sid Ahmed came after me and explained that, if I was not like other Ingles in money, I likewise differed in politeness, and had refrained from abuse, etc., etc., and I should have the boat for £25. It was so very excellent in all fittings, and so much larger, that I thought it would make a great difference in health, so I said if he would go before the American Vice-Consul, who is looked upon as a sharp hand, and would promise all he said to me before him, it should be well. Mr. Thayer, the American Consul General, gives me letters to every consular agent depending on him, and 2 Coptic merchants whom I met at the Fantasia have already begged me to honour their houses. I rather think the poor agents, who are all Armenians and Copts, will think I am the Republic in person. The weather has been all this time like a splendid English August, and I hope I shall get rid of my cough in time, but it has been very bad. There is no cold at night here as at the Cape, but it is nothing like so clear and bright. Omar took Sally sightseeing all day while I was away, into several mosques. In one he begged her to wait a minute while he said a prayer. They compare notes about their respective countries, and are great friends, but he is put out at my not having provided her with a husband long ago, as is one's duty towards a female servant, which almost always here means a slave. Of all the falsehoods I have heard about the East, that about women being old hags at 30 is the biggest. Among the poor fellow women it may be true enough, but not nearly as much as in Germany, and I have now seen a considerable number of Levantine ladies looking very handsome, or at least comely, till 50. Sakna, the Arab Grizzly, is 55, an ugly face I am told. She was veiled, and one only saw the eyes and glimpses of her mouth when she drank water, but the figure of a leopard, all grace and beauty, and a splendid voice of its kind, harsh but thrilling, like Malibran's. I guessed her about 30, or perhaps 35. When she improvised, the finesse and grace of her whole Wesen were ravishing. I was on the point of shouting out Wallah as heartily as the natives. The 8 younger Halma, i.e. learned women, which the English call Alma and think is an improper word, were ugly and screeched. Sakna was treated with great consideration and quite as a friend by the Armenian ladies with whom she talked between her songs. She is a Muslimeh and very rich and charitable, she gets £50 for a night's singing at least. It would be very easy to learn colloquial Arabic, as they all speak with such perfect distinctness that one can follow the sentences and catch the words one knows as they are repeated. I think I know 40 or 50 words already, besides my Salam Aleikum and Bakshish. The reverse of the brilliant side of the medal is sad enough: deserted palaces, and crowded hovels scarce good enough for pigsties. One day man see his dinner, and one other day none at all, as Omar observes. And the children are all shocking from bad food, dirt and overwork, but the little pot-bellied, blear-eyed wretches grow up into noble young men and women under all their difficulties. The faces are sad and rather what the Scotch call dour, not méchant at all, but harsh, like their voices. All the melody is in walk and gesture, they are as graceful as cats, and the women have exactly the breasts like pomegranates of their poetry. A tall Bedouin woman came up to us in the field yesterday to shake hands and look at us. She wore a white sackcloth shift and veil, und Witternich, and asked Mrs. Hakekian a good many questions about me, looked at my face and hands, but took no notice of my rather smart gown which the village women admired so much, shook hands again with the air of a princess, wished me health and happiness, and strode off across the graveyard like a stately ghost. She was on a journey all alone, and somehow it looked very solemn and affecting to see her walking away towards the desert in the setting sun like Hagar. All is so scriptural in the country here. Sally called out in the railroad, "There is Boaz, sitting in the cornfield," and so it was, and there he has sat for how many thousand years, and Sakna sang just like Miriam in one war song. Wednesday. My contract was drawn up and signed by the American Vice Consul today, and my Rais kissed my hand in due form, after which I went to the bazaar to buy the needful pots and pans. The transaction lasted an hour. The copper is so much per oka, the workmanship so much, every article is weighed by a sworn weigher and a ticket sent with it. More Arabian Nights. The shopkeeper compares notes with me about numerals, and is as much amused as I. He treats me to coffee and a pipe from a neighbouring shop, while Omar eloquently depreciates the goods and offers half the value. A water seller offers a brass cup of water, I drink and give the huge sum of 2d, and he distributes the contents of his skin to the crowd, there is always a crowd, in my honour. It seems I have done a pious action. Finally a boy is called to carry the batterie de cuisine, while Omar brandishes a gigantic kettle which he has picked up a little bruised for 4 shillings. The boy has a donkey which I mount astride à l'Arabe, while the boy carries all the copper things on his head. We are a rather grand procession, and quite enjoy the fury of the dragomans and other leeches who hang on the English at such independent proceedings, and Omar gets reviled for spoiling the trade by being cook, dragoman, and all in one. I went this morning with Hakekian Bey to the 2 earliest mosques. The Touloun is exquisite, noble, simple, and what ornament there is the most delicate lacework and embossing in stone and wood. This Arab architecture is even more lovely than our Gothic. The Touloun is now a vast poorhouse, a nest of paupers. I went into 3 of their lodgings. Several Turkish families were in a large square room neatly divided into little partitions with old mats hung on ropes. In each were as many bits of carpet, mat and patchwork as the poor owner could collect, and a small chest and a little brick cooking place in one corner of the room, with 3 earthen pipkins for I don't know how many people. That was all. They possessed no sort of furniture, but all was scrupulously clean and no bad smell whatever. A little boy seized my hand and showed me where he slept, ate and cooked, with the most expressive pantomime. As there were women, Hakekian could not come in, but when I came out an old man told us that they received 3 loaves, cakes as big as a sailor's biscuits, 4 piastres a month, i.e. 8 pence per adult, a suit of clothes a year, and on festive occasions lentil soup. Such is the almshouse here. A little crowd belonging to the house had collected, and I gave 6 pence to an old man, who transferred it to the first old man to be divided among them all, 10 or 12 people at least, mostly blind or lame. The poverty wrings my heart. We took leave with salams and politeness like the best society, and then turned into an Arab hut stuck against the lovely arches. I stooped low under the door, and several women crowded in. This was still poorer, for there were no mats or rags of carpet, a still worse-looking cooking place, a sort of dog kennel piled up of loose stones to sleep in, which contained a small chest and the print of human forms on the stone floor. It was, however, quite free from dust, and perfectly sweet. I gave the young woman who had let me in 6 pence, and here the difference between Turk and Arab appeared. The division of this created a perfect storm of noise, and we left the 5 or 6 Arab women out shrieking a whole rookery. I ought to say that no one begged at all. Friday. I went today on a donkey to a mosque in the bazaar, of what we call Arabesque style, like the Alhambra, very handsome. The Qibla was very beautiful, and as I was admiring it, Omar pulled a lemon out of his breast, and smeared it on the porphyry pillar on one side of the arch, and then entreated me to lick it. It cures all diseases. The old man who showed me the mosque pulled eagerly at my arm to make me perform this absurd ceremony, and I thought I should have been forced to do it. The base of the pillar was clogged with lemon juice. I then went to the tombs of the Khalifa. One of the great ones had such arches and such wondrous cupolas, but all in ruins. There are scores of these noble buildings, any one of which is a treasure, falling to decay. The next, strange to say, was in perfect repair. I got off the donkey, and Omar fidgeted and hesitated a little, and consulted with a woman who had the key. As there were no overshoes, I pulled off my boots, and was rewarded by seeing the footprints of Mohammed on 2 black stones, and a lovely little mosque, a sort of Sainte Chapelle. Omar prayed with ardent fervour and went out backwards, saluting the Prophet aloud. To my surprise the woman was highly pleased with 6 pence, and did not ask for more. When I remarked this, Omar said that no Frank had ever been inside to his knowledge. A mosque keeper of the sterner sex would not have let me in. I returned home through endless streets and squares of Muslim tombs, those of the Memlooks among them. It was very striking, and it was getting so dark that I thought of Nureddin Bey, and wondered if a Jinn would take me anywhere if I took up my night's lodging in one of the comfortable little cupola-covered buildings. My Coptic friend has just called in to say that his brother expects me at Kenna. I find nothing but civility and a desire to please. My boat is the Zent el Bahrain, and I carry the English flag and a small American distinguishing pennant as a signal to my consular agents. We sail next Wednesday. Goodbye for the present, dearest Mother. End of Letter 3. Read by Sibella Denton. All LibriVox files are in the public domain. For more information, please visit LibriVox.org.